Have you ever poured your heart, your earnings, your entire being into those you cherish, only to discover they've erased you from their legacy? I stood in the living room of the home I'd battled to preserve, clutching a document that unraveled everything I believed. It declared my sister the sole beneficiary of our family's future. My sister who hadn't contributed a dime in years. My name was merely a side note, a faint nod for a decade of devotion. In that instant, I learned some betrayals don't shout. They slice quietly. Before we begin, please subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay updated, and share your country in the comments. I'd love to know where you're reading from. I'm Emily. I've always been the one who keeps things steady. When Dad's heart surgery wiped out their savings, I paid the medical bills. When a pipe burst and flooded their garage last spring, I covered the restoration costs from my own account. Just last winter, when their truck broke down, I sent $3,800 to the repair shop before they even mentioned it. That day, I was at their home in Charlotte, sorting through a stack of financial papers for Mom, a chore I'd handled countless times. She always teased that I was sharper with those online forms than she was, but hidden in that stack was something unexpected, a sealed envelope, marked in Mom's neat handwriting, last will and testament. My instincts urged me to leave it untouched, but after paying their $22,314 property tax bill just weeks earlier, I opened it. The will was recent, signed 3 months prior. The house, fully paid off, their bank account, a modest lakefront cottage, all of it bequeathed to my sister, Ava. Ava, 26, still crashing in their spare room, dabbling in photography gigs that never took off. Her Instagram feed glittered with more likes than ambition. My name? Buried in a single sentence. We treasure both our daughters and believe they'll care for one another. Nothing more. No acknowledgement of the hospital payments I'd made. No hint of the sleepless nights I spent managing their finances. Just a detached line implying, "You're okay, Emily. You don't need this." The living room clock seemed to thrum louder, each tick cutting deeper. My hand stayed steady, but my heart felt like it might cave in. Mom walked in, humming, holding her usual chamomile tea. "Making headway, Em?" she asked, unaware. I lifted the envelope, my voice barely audible. "Is this true, Mom? Everything to Ava?" She froze, tea spilling slightly, and let out a long, weary breath, as if she'd been bracing for this. I stepped onto the porch, the air heavy with the scent of damp leaves. The patio table I sat at, I'd bought it 2 years ago when their old one rusted. The backyard shed, I'd paid to rebuild it after a storm. While Ava talked about finding her path, I stayed in Charlotte after college because Mom said family was all that endured. I declined a job offer in Seattle, higher salary, bigger opportunities, because I couldn't imagine them struggling. Or so I convinced myself. Dad joined me outside, his coat rustling, a sign he had something weighty to say. "We didn't mean for you to see it this way," he mumbled. I stayed silent, letting the quiet bear down on him. He sat beside me, fidgeting with his sleeve. "Ava's had a tougher journey. You're our anchor, Emily. Always have been." Anchor. Reliable. Words that feel like affection until they become chains. Then he admitted it, so softly it nearly vanished in the wind. "We borrowed money for Ava. She needed it." "How much?" I asked, my tone cutting. He glanced at the yard's fading tulips. $48,000. They hadn't just handed her their legacy, they'd leveraged it for her whims. And me? I was left with nothing but the burden of their decision. I stopped. No more paying their utility bills. No more restocking their pantry. No more calling their doctor for prescriptions. I didn't announce it. I just let go. At first, they didn't feel the shift. Then the messages started. "Dad, the electric bill's late." "Mom, we're out of tea." "Ava, relax, Em, it's not a crisis." As if I were overreacting. By the 5th week, their tone grew urgent. "Mom, the house payment's overdue. Can you step in like usual?" I stared at my phone, then replied, "Ask Ava. It's her home now." Then I saw it online, a post on Dad's rarely used blog, a photo of their backyard, captioned, "We gave our souls to our children, but sometimes souls shatter." Ava commented, "Some only show up for the payout." The responses flooded in, friends, cousins, strangers, branding me heartless, entitled. They didn't know I'd funded that backyard. They didn't know I'd carried their lives on my shoulders. Then the final blow arrived, a bank email, forwarded to me but not meant for me. Their home was in foreclosure, missed payments, no savings left. And Ava? She'd burned through every cent they'd given her, chasing visions that never took shape. I didn't contact the bank. I didn't send $1. For the first time, I let their world falter. Not because I stopped loving them, but because I started valuing myself. They didn't lose me when they excluded me from the will. They lost me when they assumed I'd bear their choices forever. Sometimes the toughest decision is to stop being the one who mends everything. Sometimes you must walk away to rediscover the person you buried beneath others' needs. What would you do if those you loved wrote you out of their narrative? The weeks that followed felt like walking through fog. Disorienting, heavy, but strangely freeing. I moved through my days in Charlotte, focusing on my job as a project manager, a role I'd neglected while juggling my parents' crises. For the first time in years, I noticed the quiet moments. The way sunlight spilled across my apartment floor, the satisfaction of a budget that was mine alone. But the silence from my family gnawed at me. No apologies, no outreach, just a void where their voices used to be. 2 months after I stopped covering their bills, Ava called. Her voice was sharp, accusatory, like I'd stolen something from her. "You've abandoned them, Em. They're losing the house because of you." I let her words hang, my phone pressed against my ear. "It's not my house, Ava," I said finally. "You're the heir, remember?" She hung up, but not before muttering, "You've always been so selfish." Selfish. The word stung, not because it was true, but because it came from the sister I'd once stayed up with, helping her edit photos for her portfolio, believing in her dreams as fiercely as she did. Then came the email from Mom, forwarded from their lawyer. The foreclosure was final. The house I'd poured thousands into, $12,500 for the roof alone 3 years ago, was gone. They'd moved into a small rental across town, and Ava was still with them, her latest project abandoned. The email wasn't a plea for help. It was a formality, a cold update meant to guilt me. "We're managing," it read, "but we miss our home." No mention of the $48,000 loan they'd taken for Ava, no acknowledgement of the years I'd been their safety net. I closed my laptop and felt something shift, a weight lifting. Not fully gone, but lighter. I started therapy a month later. My therapist, a woman with a calm voice and sharp insights, asked me to name what I wanted, not for my family, but for myself. I couldn't answer at first. I'd spent a decade defining myself by what I could fix for others. But slowly, I began to unravel the person I'd buried. I signed up for a photography class, not because I wanted to be like Ava, but because I'd always loved capturing moments. The way light bends through trees, the texture of a cracked sidewalk. I saved for a trip to Iceland, a dream I'd shelved when I turned down the Seattle job. I even started dating again, letting myself laugh without checking my phone for family emergencies. 6 months later, Dad reached out. A text, not a call. "Can we talk, Em?" I met them at a diner near their rental. Mom's eyes were tired. Dad's hands unsteady around his coffee mug. Ava wasn't there. She'd moved to a friend's place, they said, chasing another opportunity. They didn't ask for money, but the weight of their regret was palpable. "We thought Ava needed us more," Mom admitted, her voice cracking. "We didn't see how much we leaned on you." It wasn't an apology, not fully, but it was the closest they'd come. I nodded, not trusting my voice. I didn't offer to fix things. I didn't promise to call their bank. I just listened. And when I left, I felt a quiet strength I hadn't known I had. Now, a year later, I'm still learning to put myself first. My parents are rebuilding, slowly, and Ava's still chasing dreams that don't land. I check in sometimes, but I don't carry their world anymore. I've learned that love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It means setting boundaries so you can thrive. The hardest part wasn't walking away, it was realizing I deserved to. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.